Missouri soybean farmers, you're appreciated. The Missouri Soybean Merchandising Council wants to show gratitude to those who pay the check off. In this edition of the Spotlight podcast, a farmer leader and Missouri soybean staff member talk about the ways the organization says thank you. Missouri Soybeans is connecting with the state's soybean farmers. They do that in many ways, but one in particular allows staff to get face-to-face with farmers every year.
Harvest lunches give us a way to meet farmers where they're at the elevator, to be able to provide them a lunch for not only them while they're hauling grain back and forth from the field or the bins, but also to their field crew as well. My name is Bailey Asbury. I'm the Director of Outreach and Education for Missouri Soybeans. A lunch doesn't seem like a lot, but in those busy seasons, just be able to give them a hot sandwich and a cold drink can go a long way, and we're excited to be able to do this again.
The events in each of Missouri Soybeans grower districts do more than provide a lunch break for hungry farmers. The objective is to be able to talk with farmers and to answer questions regarding the soybean checkoff.
The major talking point this time of year is simply checkoff sellback. They're seeing that checkoff, the assessment, at the elevator. And so really being able to drive home that investment, what our farmer-led board is doing with those funds and what ROI it's bringing back to their bottom line. During harvest, that's the one thing on your mind is getting those crops out of the ground. And so I think it's important for us to be able to share while you're super busy and all of this is going on. Missouri Soybeans, our team and our farmer-led board is still investing in things that are affecting your bottom line, and we just want to be able to share that and share that messaging, what's on top of your mind while they're sitting in the grain cart or the combine and the semi for so long. I think it's an interesting time to know what's going on and what's on their mind as we make those shifts into the winter and spring.
I think the biggest thing is a simple thank you to every farmer out there that grows soybeans.
Northeast Missouri soybean farmer Mark Lenbauer chairs the Missouri Soybean Merchandising Council, the soybean checkoff, and says there's a lot to learn about the soybean checkoff. Lenbauer says becoming a farmer leader opened his eyes to what the checkoff does.
As farmers, generally, we're not good about celebrating our wins. The checkoff does a lot, way more than I ever dreamt of before I was on the board. Some of it is we need to do a better job of telling our story to the owners of the checkoff.
What the checkoff doesn't do is guarantee market performance, which, for better or for worse, draws attention, especially during times of lower prices, making the checkoff sellback campaign all the more essential.
One of the things that we're all aware of is the markets aren't as good as they've been the last couple of years. It's very easy to point fingers in this trying time. All of our expenses are higher than they were. Pick your number of years back. Of course, we're getting less. I think in general, Missouri's having a really good crop from most of my peers I've talked to. That helps. But I think the thing that we have to remember is even with these challenges, we do want to recognize the hard work, dedication that every producer brings to the table. That's so important.
Enduring a low market is never fun for farmers, nor is it pleasant from the standpoint of soybean checkoff board members. Lenbauer and his fellow board members see it from both perspectives.
To cope with lower commodity prices, I think as a farmer, we do what everybody does. You look at your expenses and where can we cut. Honestly, we've had a fairly good growing season. The yields are decent, so that's going to help because you're going to have more bushels to sell, even though it's a lower price. So that will help on the revenue. And I think from the checkoff perspective, we're constantly looking for avenues that we can increase revenue. As far as the price of soybeans, our board is made up of farmers. Everybody on the board gets their hands dirty growing soybeans. So we're all have the same mission at heart to have a higher price for soybeans. We're constantly researching new products, new uses. I think taking the existing uses that have been discovered in the past and capitalizing upon them and trying to get them into more markets.
The Checkoff Sellback campaign, which includes farmer events like the Harvest Lunches, is that autumn one-on-one touch point that Missouri Soybeans is looking for before cold weather meetings begin.
Winter meetings and all that winter meeting season heats up in January and February, but we found that there was this gap in between the summer and the winter, and so trying to figure out where we could meet farmers. And we kind of started a couple years ago with only 2 of them. As they've become such a success, and we've been able to meet with 700 plus farmers across the state, it's been really great, and I think that's just being able to have that touch point with our farmers in such a busy, crazy time of year is important, and I think that's why we do it.
Asbury says FaceTime with soybean farmers is important from the standpoint of being able to talk to them about the checkoff and its benefits. But it's also an opportunity to get feedback from farmers and to find out what's top of mind for them.
Our grower services team and our other staff members that are there are getting that feedback and really being able to shift and be able to be strategic in how we're getting ready to gear up for RFPs and what's on the top of mind. Just be able to kind of share what the checkoff is and what they're doing. Sometimes across those scales, you have a farmhand or someone that maybe isn't the lead on the farm and doesn't quite know what the checkoff is doing. So it's a really great way to be able to share that with the farmers. But also, just as important, we're able to touch base with those elevator workers. They're the ones that are managing the checkoff assessment on their end, on the accounting side. They're the first person that farmers ask those questions to. And so not only is it important to share that information with our producers, we have a great time visiting with those elevator staff as well to be able to make sure that they're equipped to answer those questions and speak positively on the checkoff as well.
These lunches are served in each of 7 Missouri Soybeans districts to farmers arriving at the elevator to unload. Ideally, it's a line that continues to move, limiting the amount of time spent with each busy farmer. The lunch and brief conversation will be accompanied by a small card that includes an explanation of Missouri Soybeans' service to growers.
What the checkoff does versus what the association does, how they work in partnership, some of those key investments that the checkoff is making, whether that's in our Mississippi dredging project or biodiesel and the impact that has on your bottom line, as well as the new uses. And so we're able to kind of share those at a touch point. It's very quick, right? So there's not a lot of time for that face-to-face interaction because the line's moving. So we're able to share that rack card, and hopefully farmers are able to keep that in their cab and to be able to kind of look and reference that, as well as the resources it directs you to for further information. We're really trying hard to push that, when farmers see that check mark, it means something. And I think they can rely heavily on those farmers that they've elected to serve on the Missouri Soybean Merchandising Council and make sure those investments are going to the right place and that they see that ROI every time they see MSMC or that check mark.
When you see the check mark, you know that it represents the thoughtful farmer-driven investments made to boost markets and improve profitability for the Missouri farmer. That's what the checkoff stands for. That's what the goal of the checkoff is, to make the Missouri soybean farmer more profitable.
Northeast Missouri farmer Mark Lindbauer, chairman of the Missouri Soybean Merchandising Council, and Bailey Asbury, Missouri Soybeans Director of Outreach and Education. Find this and other editions of the Missouri Soybean Spotlight wherever you get your podcasts. We're also on the air with the weekly Spotlight on Soybeans, brought to you by Missouri soybean farmers and their checkoff. Thank you for listening. I'm Tom Stever.